All right, it's Tuesday, March 5th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a 2 down day on the daily chart that moved down to take out the low of Friday, which was the first target. It kind of moved into this area here in pretty strong fashion, and then we get a little bit of buy near the end of the day, which is fine. Because essentially, if you look at the 15-minute chart, which I'll go over in a minute, once you have one push down, pause, second push down, that's kind of exhaustion risk on a very short-term basis. So you get a little bit of a bounce here towards the end of the day. It doesn't really change the picture of what's developing. Now that we've come down on Tuesday with a red bar here, we've come past the midpoint of the prior week, and that gives us 3 days to get down to the lows of last week on a 3 bar. That's kind of a 50% kind of rule where you take out the high of a previous week or the low of a previous week. You fail, you come back through the midpoint of that, then you're kind of anticipating the possibility of heading down there. Now, it doesn't always happen. I'm trying to think. There was one example in here. Might have been this one here where we kind of failed to the upside. We came down. It looked like you were going to get the 3 down, but then we didn't. We had 2 attempts here and we failed, and that's why it was real exciting to get long during this week, as I recall. So, with 3 days to go, we're anticipating heading down there, but after a little bit of a bounce, the market's going to do its best to kind of, play games a little bit. So it can come up and it can take out liquidity first. I could see it could take out this level. We'll see where the pre-market range is tomorrow, and that the high of that might be taken out into liquidity. Of course, it could fail and completely get a 2-up day, but until we do anything tomorrow that starts, signaling a potential 2-up day, you keep your buys to the downside. Even though Wednesday itself might be a consolidation day, you still know, the more it consolidates and can't really break up, or if it does even break up and can't get back to those highs, the more excited you get for that, maybe final trade of the week to get down to those weekly lows and into this gap. So I understand that, even though that's the target, that's the expectation, it doesn't mean it has to happen immediately. You still have to kind of judge opening price action relative to what the day did before, and go from there. But I could see opportunities of failures moving up that would be exciting to continue this downtrend into this gap and maybe lower. And again, I've been discussing that on previous videos. The other point to make is kind of with the strat, which is what kind of I use to not necessarily trade off of. I just use that for, the benefit to me of the strat is just kind of knowing if this happens, then that happens kind of thing, to look ahead, to know what price has to do in order to, fulfill the strat principles of broadening action. So, coming into last week, we had a green bar here, and the first 2 days of the week, you were expecting that high to be taken out, didn't move much lower. So eventually by the end of the week, you move up. This week we stayed green, and the first day of the week came up and took that out and failed. So that's why, it's exciting to think that maybe on this Tuesday, you can get a move lower, especially when you're at, exhaustion risk of some form, to start maybe getting the first weekly pullback. And especially once you had kind of a 2 down day today that had a big target down here. I discussed on a lot of videos how that would then lead to the midpoint of the prior week, and that can pinball to the midpoint of the prior month and everything else. You can kind of watch some of the videos I've been posting since the weekend on the SPY over and over, kind of anticipating this kind of failure. So given I didn't predict it, but I anticipated it, and that's why yesterday I aggressively got short. And today is a day where it definitely performed well, but given this little bounce at the end of the day, we're just going to have to see if the market wants to take out liquidity a little bit along the way in shorter time frames before it heads lower, or does it just hold the midpoint of today and immediately start lower tomorrow, which is, anytime you have a red bar, you're expecting that low to be tested. And in this case, we have other targets as well. So that's why bias still stays down. Just going to have to see how price unfolds. But today, if you were trading, in any form, even just to start the day, then you were seeing that the first bar was red. We had a little bit of an economic report at 9 o'clock. It immediately failed. And this was a great, on bar 3, an opportunity to sell. 1 push down, 2 pushes down, in line with all the expectations of what could develop to the downside. So clear day to the downside today. I thought it was pretty clear towards the end of trading yesterday that, this might develop, and we still have a target to the weekly lows. The monthly chart is also now officially red at the moment, so we know the open of the month. As long as we hold below there, this month we're going to see now, can it get down to the halfway point of the prior month and have a real big collapse? I'm not, again, in any way expecting that. I think it can come down into this month, hold in here, and then we might consolidate for a month or two. But it's going to be, maybe we're in for a little bit of a consolidation period, on a bigger picture here for the time, for the next few months. If this thing can't reverse to the upside, it's due for that after 4 months in a row up, and certainly after all this weekly price action up. So don't be surprised, with people trying to maybe buy the dip, but it fails, and we continue lower to targets as they form day after day and week after week. So, after today, might be a little, pausing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I still think we're heading lower until, things get back to the upside again.